Morning, Mr. Prakash. Thank you so much for coming for this interview today.
Hi, so good to meet you. Thanks for meeting up with me today.
Perfect. We're glad to have you here. So tell me, what would make you amazing for this role? What kind of experience do you have?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. My experience is I have 10 years of experience running a restaurant. I have 20 years of experience in multiple different fast food joints as a cashier. And I also have 30 years of experience as a public CEO for a company. So I think I'm very qualified for this role as a cashier in this fast food franchise.
Great. Unfortunately, we have found a candidate who has way more experience than you, so we won't be going ahead with your application. But we at McDonald's really hope that you find the role that's perfect for you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
NANI?!
Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about how to get a job with no experience whatsoever and how to start from the ground up. As we all know, it's a little bit ridiculous the fact that we need years of experience or just even a year of experience to get entry-level positions nowadays, and it's just the bar is getting raised more and more. And the reason for this is because more and more people are staying in the workforce longer, and therefore the amount of jobs and the criteria for entry-level jobs is going up. So with that in mind, how do you actually go about getting a job? Today I want to share a little bit of a story about what I've done in the past in terms of getting jobs. Now, I've been very fortunate to be able to restart my career several times. I'm not even that old, and I've been able to restart and change career pathways. I've gone from research assistant to product engineer to design engineer to marketing manager to operations manager to head of product and various other roles as like a manager and things like that. And so I've literally started from ground one many times. And I want to share my experience on how I've been able to do this. I'm going to share one particular story and also summarize it as 4 major key points I want you to take away and implement for your own life and looking for jobs. I know right now it's a very difficult time for a lot of you and also for people who are trying to get their foot in the door. So I'm hoping this gives you a little bit of insight and a little bit of hope as well as to how you can go and do this yourself. So the story starts off like this. A couple of years ago, I hit rock bottom when one of my startups failed. Essentially, I'd poured my life and soul into it for years, and eventually it all came crumbling down. And so I went into a little bit of a hole and just sort of was really upset for a really long period of time. And one of the things that came out of that learning period, or I guess that sulking period, was the fact that I was lacking a lot of critical skills to be able to succeed as a founder and also succeed in the workforce. I was just an engineering kid and I really didn't have the experience in marketing or entrepreneurship or anything like that to really succeed. And so part of me was like, okay, what do I need to learn to become a better founder and also to have a better career for myself? And 2 of the skills that really felt critical at this point was marketing and also development, to be able to create my own products. I was a mechanical engineer, didn't have the software skills to build a lot of the ideas I had, which unfortunately was in the software space, even though I was a mech eng guy. So what did I do? Immediately, I decided that I need to go get a job in marketing to really master it and also get some experience in the field before I could go out and do it by myself properly in a startup or anything like that. And so mission was to get a job in marketing. The only problem was I had 0 experience in marketing. I've never done anything like that in my life. So I turned to the next best thing, which was Google and Udemy, and I essentially just started doing some courses online. And what you find nowadays is that there's information everywhere on every single topic. Almost like you could probably even learn medicine online. Probably not, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of information out there, and for most business related fields, you can find that information. And so I started learning marketing and some growth hacking and things like that, and I sort of dabbled in different areas of marketing, and then that's how I essentially got my foot in the door. So lesson number 1 is essentially prioritize self-learning. You're not really going to get anywhere by relying on vocational education like universities to get you everywhere. Nowadays, the industry is changing so drastically every day that roles will pop up that universities can't keep up with. And if you're able to learn those skills by yourself, you're way more likely to get employed and way more likely to compete in the market. If you think about it like a hot commodity, right? If every single person coming out of university has a set amount of skill, right? If you have skills beyond that because you went ahead and self-learned and took some initiative to learn some other skills, you'll definitely find your employability increase. One particular story for me was I was interviewing for a mining engineering role, which I was not a mining engineer. But the reason why I got it was because of skills I didn't even expect them to be interested in, like the fact that I knew Python, the fact that I knew CAD, and the fact that I also studied physics was just like a really weird combination of things that they found interesting, and they saw some potential in me being able to use that in the role. So I knew after doing a couple of roles, it was still going to be a little bit tough for me to get my foot in the door and get a job because I still didn't have any experience. It was just the fact that I had Googled some stuff and I understood some stuff, but I didn't really understand how to apply it for an actual company context. And so the first thing to do was to get some experience. But again, how do I get that experience if someone's not going to give me the job? It's kind of like the chicken and the egg problem, right? And so I decided to just do some of my own projects. And what you'll find is with most of the skills that you're trying to learn, you could just do your own side projects to be able to explore that skill set a little bit more. So what I decided to do was set up an e-commerce store around iPhone cases, which was extremely uninspired. At the same time, it was just for me to learn. And through this process, I was able to learn how to use paid marketing funnels, organic marketing funnels, and actually get the store from $0 to a few $1,000s a month, and actually sustained me. So I didn't need a full-time job for some time because I could just use that store. Over time, the niche became a bit more saturated and I couldn't actually continue the store, but it was just a very interesting learning experience for myself, scaling it from 0 to that amount in that period of time. What I also did was I called up some friends and I called up some other businesses around the neighborhood, some family, and I just offered my services for free. That was a great way for me to get my foot in the door because I could get some experience with some real companies without actually charging them or them losing out on anything. If I succeeded, it was great. If I failed, then they don't have to use my stuff anyway. So that was a good way for me to get some projects under my belt. So step number 2 is work on personal projects or figure out other ways to get experience besides paid work. And I know people are going to complain about the fact that they don't have time, they need to do uni, they need to work and things like that. But unfortunately, this is just like the way that you have to get your foot in the door. So if you're lucky enough to get a paid position that will pay you to learn, which I think most positions should, but if you don't, then you do need to carve out some time per week for self-learning. And that'll really help you start your own personal projects and also like pursue your passion a little bit. But then you get a bit of a portfolio to be able to show people the work that you've done. And I find that having a personal portfolio drastically increases the amount of job opportunities that you will get. Okay, so now that I had a few personal projects, and keep in mind it was nothing too drastic and it was very niche. So I had maybe 2 personal projects. One was a store, which was doing okay at this point. So now that I had a little bit more experience, keep in mind it wasn't that much. It was just a e-commerce store and helping my friend's cafe a little bit. And that's about it. I just sort of put some marketing plans together and tried some Facebook ads and got some minimal experience to really get my feet wet. But once I was a bit more confident, I started to look for opportunities for paid work. And so what I did was I knew I wouldn't be able to get a job via the resume route because my resume was not that great for marketing. I had 0 experience. But what I decided to do was just revisit some old friends and talk to some people in my network. So I went back to LinkedIn, started pinging people on Messenger. Also reached out to people cold on LinkedIn as well and tried to do as many coffee dates as I could. Now through this process of coffee dates, you may not find direct opportunities, and I don't think you should be asking for opportunities. It's just the fact that you should float ideas with them and maybe get the advice. I find the angle of asking for some mentorship and advice on certain projects that you're working on, or just personal advice on how to improve on things, really can make a good impression on your mentors and people that are trying to help you out. In my particular case, I managed to connect with a friend who was working for a company, and when he showed me the website and the marketing that they were doing that was basically non-existent, I saw some opportunity to help this company out. So after talking to him for a bit, I realized that, man, I could really help this company out with some marketing. Even if it wasn't for pay, I could do it for free and maybe build up my experience and also build up my portfolio a bit more. So I decided to push him a little bit more for an introduction to the CEO. At this point, they were looking for a head of business development, and I told my friend to put me up for the job, even though this is probably way above my pay grade and I had no experience in business development either. I just asked if you could get me an interview or at least let me chat to the CEO to see what kind of magic I could work. So tip number 3 is essentially, you probably already heard it, it's networking. And I think you're gonna get a lot more opportunities through networking rather than using a resume. The fact that traditional job searches uses resumes and the fact that you have nothing on your resume is a very big red flag, and it's just going to deter you from actually getting any opportunities. But if you use your network and use personal relationships, it's a lot easier to get jobs. You're probably complaining about your friend whose dad works at a particular company and you were able to get a job, or they were able to get a job through their parent. Now, while you could complain about that, you could just complain about the bad cards you were dealt in life. I think it's a bit poor to just focus on that kind of stuff and really start hustling for your own network and own opportunities in life. For me personally, even though I studied engineering and wanted to do marketing, everyone in my family was in finance or banking, which would have been great if I was into finance, but unfortunately I wanted to go a different route. So make sure you prioritize cold outreaches and networking. And what I find is a really good angle, especially if you're learning about a new field, just ask for a coffee to pick their brain and understand a little bit more. I wouldn't go in and ask for anything off the bat. I would just try to learn about them, learn about what they're doing, and also just get some genuine feedback on some of the projects you're working on and also how you can improve your skill set. Okay, so success, I was able to get an interview through my friend, but now was the tricky part. I didn't actually have anything to offer. I didn't have a great resume. I didn't even know what to talk about besides some of the small projects I've done. And so I thought about it a little bit more. I could have went in with a resume and a cover letter, but I had a look at the website and I had a look at some of the stuff that they were doing, and I felt there was some real value that I've learned from my Udemy courses and also some of the applications I did to apply to this business. And so what I did was, why don't I just prove myself? I decided to put together a bit of a marketing plan. So I made a 2-page marketing plan based on some of the stuff they did. And what I also did was I redesigned the website using some UX builders I found online and was able to make a little bit of a mock-up. And so for the interview, rather than bringing in a resume and a cover letter, I brought my resume, but I brought a marketing plan and also the UX plan for how I could build a website. And so what that allowed me to do was prove my skill before I even got the job. Do some work and basically it's essentially trialing before you buy. And I wanted him to see that I could do it and I could achieve if he gave me a chance. And so rather than asking for a chance, I just wanted to show him that I can do it and therefore he should give me a chance. And if you think about it from the other perspective, right? Why do companies hire people? Well, they're looking for people to solve a problem for them, right? Either they have a skill gap in the company or they need extra hands to alleviate some of their time. They're obviously looking for something to get some help with. And so if you can provide that value for the salary that you're getting, then you should be hired. And so your job in the interview is really to show that you can solve their problems. And again, I really don't think interviews are any different to a sales pitch or any different to selling them a product. In this case, you're selling them yourself and also trying to solve the issue for them. And if you don't treat it that way, it's very difficult to empathize with them and it's very difficult for you to get the best possible chance. And so during the interview, it was actually very much about the marketing plan I made, very much about the UX and more about his problems as opposed to what I was about. Obviously there were some character questions where I was answering who I was and what kind of stuff I was into, but it was very much about his problems and how I could help alleviate some of those issues. So within a day, what actually happened was he ended up calling me and giving me a new position that they didn't have before. They created a new position called head of marketing, and then I ended up joining the week after as the head of marketing, and I stayed there for a good year. And I learned so much through that experience. I was able to scale up operations, I was able to try different marketing strategies, and I think it was just an overall very welcoming and very amazing opportunity for me. But likewise, I think I did deliver some value to the company, and I think I was able to essentially prove my worth, and for the money that I was getting, I think I was providing just as much value back to the company. And I was able to demonstrate that through the interview. So the 4th point, very simply, is demonstrate your talent. So you need to get in the head of the customer, in this case the interviewer. What are they actually looking for? And how can you prove your worth before they interview you? So if they're looking for someone to fill the job of operations manager, is there some recommendations you can make on the operations? Or is there something that you can do to analyze it beforehand and really ask some insightful questions to show that you care and that you've made some effort to understand what's happening? You're essentially de-risking hiring you in the first place. Because usually what they're thinking is, what if I hire this person and they can't actually do the job and I have to let go of them, I have to figure out how to do all this stuff later. And so the more that you can de-risk the entire process for them, and the more that you can make them feel very comfortable that you're the right person to do the job, the better your chances are. And so why rely on your resume when you can just prove that you're good at the job? Make a plan, make a new website. Whatever it is that you can really prove your skill set, I think that's the way to go when you have no experience whatsoever. So in summary, it's very simple. All you need to do is self-learn. You need to work on some personal projects, go network, and then figure out how to demonstrate your skill to the future employer. Because end of the day, if you have no experience, then you have to rely on what you can do here and now and what you're able to achieve. And you need to prove to them that you're someone worth investing into, because you will provide so much value to their company down the track. And so if you use these tips, I think you'll be able to break into any field that you want to very easily. I hope that helped, and I hope that everyone's staying safe during what's happening across the world. I know that people are really struggling in terms of unemployment, and people are struggling with the disease, and there's a lot of things happening at the moment. But I hope that everyone can keep their heads up, and hopefully this helps with at least some of the issues that you're facing, and at least gives you some next steps as to how to find that next position for you. So best of luck. I'll catch you later.